out of the more than 700,000 troops who invaded, we had finished taking care of 530,000. This was practically genocide, I know. But for me, it also meant I had gained over 500,000 souls.
It is best not to let the Empire harbor any more useless ambitions. We need to kill all the intruders.
He was so merciless. But at this point, I saw no reason to oppose him. AI Anime and Manga presents. If you're enjoying the series, please leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Patreon members get upcoming episodes early and help cover AI narration, subtitles, thumbnails, and rendering, so huge thanks for keeping the project moving. Now, let's finish this ground war. Out of the more than 700,000 troops who had participated in the ground invasion, we had finished taking care of 530,000. This was practically genocide, I know. But for me, in the cold arithmetic of the war, it also meant I had gained over 500,000 souls. That brought the total to 770,000, enough to evolve 7 of my top officials. Once the remaining ground battles were wrapped up, I would have to consider who to give the nod to. And as for that ground battle, we still were not letting our guard down. I checked the numbers out loud. Now the Imperial force numbers less than 200,000 troops. That's a pretty big army, but it seems tiny compared to before, huh? Benimaru answered.
Indeed. 2 days have passed since their final deployment into the labyrinth, but no moves since then. We do not see any signs that they are ready to send any more down. Of course, if the enemy commander keeps prodding the labyrinth after all this, he would have to be beyond incompetent.
Benimaru was right, I suppose. With all the strength they had lost, I doubted they would be kicking any more soldiers through the labyrinth gate. Now it was our turn to confront them instead. Without any rankers on their side, the enemy force was nowhere near the juggernaut it used to be. It was a big army, yes, but we could probably take them on easily. I thought we could anyway, but there was always something to worry about. So I asked the practical question. So now what? The other side has still got us beat in numbers and quality, right? If we hit them with the 2nd Army Corps, that is going to cost us casualties no matter what, won't it? We could just hole up in here and wait for them to run out of food. That could earn us victory unscathed. With the food stores we had in the labyrinth, we could duke it out for another year. Cultivation was possible to some extent down there as well. And if push came to shove, we could always ask Ramirez to give us more farmland. That would be the firm, cautious approach, I thought. Benimaru laid out the strategic position.
Well, we have already cut off the enemy's supply lines. Strategically speaking, we have the upper hand. Now that we have come this far, it is really more cleanup duty than anything.
Shion cut in before he could finish.
As you said earlier, you are not going to let the invaders leave alive then? That's just what I hope to hear from you, Benimaru. What valor!
Shion's interruption made Benimaru snicker. Apparently, she was right.
No. It is best not to let the Empire harbor any more useless ambitions. That is all the more reason why we need to kill all the intruders.
Benimaru was starting to sound like Raphael now. Annihilating the majority of the Imperial army was not enough to satisfy him. He was committed to killing every single one of them without prejudice, just as originally planned. He was so merciless, wasn't he? And at this point, I saw no reason to oppose him. But, I was ready for that. I was sure the Empire's subjects would hate me for all this, even if just out of spite. I just hoped it did not give us a bad rap with the Western nations. Then Raphael reported inside my mind.
Report. I have a suggestion I would like to test.
Inside, I answered. Oh? It sounded like Raphael had a plan of its own. The fact that it did not just tell me about it first thing let me know that maybe my friend was not too confident it would work. In my mind, I asked, is this something we could do right now then?
Negative. It will require time and preparation, so it is better to attempt after the war is over.
I accepted that with a simple thought. Okay. Certainly I did not want to start any more wacky experiments during wartime. I did not know what Raphael wanted to do, but either way I was the one who would have to execute it. We could talk about it later. I turned my attention back to Benimaru. I had accepted his proposal to kill them all, but my only other important request was that there be no casualties on our side. I asked him, but is that even possible without anyone dying?
If we in your officer corps come out to battle, Sir Rimuru, I am sure of it.
Confident as ever. Diablo, Shion, and even the typically calm Geld were nodding eagerly at Benimaru's assessment. Okay, so what exactly will you guys do? Benimaru began explaining.
First, Sir Rimuru, we cannot leave you unguarded.
Everyone nodded their agreement. I pushed back, because from where I sat it sounded excessive. Do you have to be that careful? I mean, we killed everyone in the labyrinth except for Lucius and Raymond. We were still treating Lucius and Raymond as prisoners of war for now. They did not seem likely to betray us, so we had not thrown them in jail or anything. They were on standby on floor 60 just in case, kept under Ghidorah's supervision. He had been showing them the battles on each floor of the labyrinth to help stave off their boredom. That included recordings of the two of them as well, but what amazed them the most was how each of the labyrinth guardians fought. The people around them kept their spirits up in their own way. One of them teased, "You see now? You were smart to join my side, weren't you?" Another voice backed him up. "You were, right? You ought to be grateful." Someone else added, "At least thank him for giving you 3 meals a day?" And then a calmer voice from Shinji's group said, "Hey, come on guys. We went down the same road they did, remember? We should know how they both feel." Ghidorah and Shinji's gang were all helping prop up their spirits. I did not think we needed to worry about anything with them. Then I wondered if any Imperial forces had snuck into our capital city before the war began. So, were there any intruders in town?
We have already taken care of them.
Yeah, I was sure there had been. But if that was the answer Zoe had, the problem was already in the distant past. Raphael added its own confirmation.
Report. We have successfully eliminated every single person who entered the labyrinth. Only one individual, the subject Krishna, was confirmed to have used a resurrection bracelet. But since he is currently outside the labyrinth, he will no longer pose a problem.
Oh, so Krishna survived. He was a pretty strong dude, sure. But if Raphael had already kept tabs on him, I had nothing to worry about. I said aloud, "Yeah, well, I guess the labyrinth is safe now, so I suppose I can relax a little bit, huh? Besides, those Imperial Guardians like Kanzis and Minitz, people in their class would be stronger than me before I became a Demon Lord, right? From what Chloe told me, I had not evolved into one in her timeline, so it would not be a shock at all if they killed me, would it? In that scenario, Diablo would not be there for me either. I had not summoned him by then. Veldora was not fully revived, so even folks like Zegion would be their pre-evolved selves. In terms of war power, we would be way weaker than we were now. It was not even a comparison. If the Empire attacked us in that situation, it would not be strange at all if we were too helpless to resist and I kicked it. Raphael rejected that immediately.
That is not possible.
In my mind, I argued back, "No, I really think it is, you know? Like, I understood how much of a sore loser Raphael could be, but that was a really petulant thing to say. Besides, Raphael had still just been the great sage back then." Raphael gave no answer. I let myself enjoy that for one small moment. You lost that debate, huh? My first win in a while. Not that there was a winner and a loser in this kind of argument, but still. Benimaru agreed, although he did not seem to like it much.
Yes, perhaps you are right, Sir Rimuru.
But Shion refused to accept it.
No, there was no possible way you could be defeated.
There was, actually. History proved me right. Well, that history anyway. We were on a different one now, but with someone like Shion, trying to debate theoretical timelines was an exercise in futility. Giving up on that fool's errand, I got us back on topic. Well, there is no point debating it now. The key takeaway here is that the Empire had a lot of strong dudes in it. They might still have a bunch left too, so we are all going to have to remain careful. And I appreciate your wish to keep me guarded, but I do not want you guys getting hurt because of it. The labyrinth seemed more than safe enough by this point, and when it came to the ground war, I thought the sooner we put that behind us, the better. That was why I said that, but my phrasing had a lot more power than I thought. Diablo seized on it first.
If that is what you say, Sir Rimuru, then I will gladly go out to fight as well. Allow me to end this battle in a single instant.
Shion jumped in right after him.
No trying for a head start, Diablo. I am not going to give up this opportunity to have Sir Rimuru see my treasured troops in action for the first time.
And Carrera, who had just flown in through the doorway, pleaded before anyone could settle the matter. Please, my lord, wait. Testa and Ult have been given chances to shine, but I have not been given anything yet. That is so mean. Please deploy me as well while you are at it. Diablo, Shion, and Carrera were all making a huge fuss about going out there to fight. Benimaru stared at the three of them.
You three.
Even Benimaru was taken aback. Geld was laughing about it too. At last, Benimaru gave in.
All right. I will stay here so you guys can handle the final battle for us.
In the end, Benimaru agreed to let Diablo and the others go to war. With that question settled, now we needed a workable strategy. Benimaru started with the numbers.
Let's take a look at our numbers. Our main force is my red numbers, totaling 30,000, along with 17,000 elites from Geld's yellow numbers and orange numbers. In terms of quality, they are probably all on par with the remaining Imperial troops, and I am connected via thought communication with their commanders and captains. They will be able to take flexible tactical action out there, so if we restrict their zone of activity, that should let us fight evenly with them or better. How many people are among your treasured troops then?
So 47,000 in all? They averaged a B+ in rank, which was more than sufficient. But they would be going up against an Empire force almost 4 times as large. No matter how much of an operational advantage we had, defeat seemed pretty likely to me. Shion answered proudly.
10,000. And by the way, only those who kept up with my training remain on the team, so you can treat all of them as ranking at least a B+.
This was Shion's elite guard, or her fan club as we usually called it. It was something of an enigma, an entity set apart from Team Reborn that was captained by Dagrel's sons. Apparently, it was bigger than I thought. There are really that many of them? Like, man, it sure grew while I was not paying attention. I knew that Gobzo was a member, but I could only imagine what kind of other clowns were in there.
There are, Sir Rimuru. I have been secretly training them to serve as a worthy elite guard for you.
They were your fan club, weren't they? Not mine. But whatever. The more reliable allies we had, the merrier. Benimaru continued.
But even this leaves us at a dire numerical disadvantage, so I will be expecting a lot out of all my close officers here. First, we should confuse them with a large-scale skill, then strike them when they are open. They will not just sit back and watch, of course. Assuming they advance upon us, the first question is who should tackle them first.
Usually, Benimaru would have been taking that role as far as I knew. A wide-ranging attack like Hellflare would be perfect for the job. But unfortunately, Benimaru had to stay here and guard me. So who else then? Carrera raised her hand for the role. Isn't this where I come in, my lord? Yeah, she did seem qualified. I glanced at Benimaru. Our eyes met, he gave me a small nod, and with that, I decided to give Carrera her wish. Diablo started to volunteer.
I think I can.
But I cut in first. Right, Carrera, it is up to you. Use some of that flashy magic of yours to teach the Imperial Force a lesson they will never forget. Carrera answered at once. Absolutely, my lord, you can count on me. Oh, was Diablo about to say something? Sorry, Diablo, what were you saying?
No. It was nothing of importance. But good for you, Carrera.
Carrera practically sang back, "Ooh, I am so happy." I could almost see the sparks flying between Diablo and Carrera. Was he about to nominate himself or something? If so, then my apologies. But did Diablo have that kind of large-scale magic at his fingertips? Surely he had to. I guess being around me all the time like this was driving him to show off as much as possible. Now I felt just a little bad for him. Hopping out of my chair, I transformed from slime to human form and stood before Diablo. Placing a hand on his shoulder, I tried to sound as persuasive as I could. Sorry about that, Diablo. You know, I was actually hoping you might volunteer to kill off the enemy commander for me.
Huh?
Diablo's lips curled into a grin. He looked happy. Really happy. Great then. Like, there still might be unknown menaces in their army, right? It looks like the Krishna guy from before managed to resurrect himself, for example. But it ought to be easy for you to trace him. Given his stalkerish behavior from time to time, I bet Diablo was good at that kind of thing.
Of course, Sir Rimuru.
Diablo replied so happily that I knew I had guessed right.
Yes, it is still possible that powerful fighters lurk within the Empire. If we want them to come out of the woodwork, we will need to show off our full powers right here, on this battlefield. Carrera, Diablo, I am counting on you.
Carrera swore, I swear I will do my best, my lord.
A direct edict from you, Sir Rimuru, makes my heart soar with excitement.
Well, super. Carrera was glad to be playing a part, and now Diablo was all motivated again. That ought to make it easier for Geld and the rest to do their jobs. Benimaru took over for me and began rattling off his orders.
Now make sure you keep the other troops intimidated enough so nobody interferes with Carrera's magic. If someone does try to mess with her, Shion, have your troops deal with them. As for the formation, I would like Geld up front and Shion using hit-and-run tactics as we discussed. We will count on the red numbers to provide pursuit duty, but as for who will be in charge...
I was sure I could safely leave the rest to him now. They needed someone who could connect via thought communication to Benimaru and immediately execute his will as needed. Thought communication could also be used to relay orders to every ally on the field, but any mistaken action out there could cost lives. A commander who could make little corrections as needed was absolutely vital. I thought Gobwa could handle that job nimbly enough, but maybe having him give orders to Shion and Geld was asking a bit much. Benimaru started to say it.
I think that
Before he could finish, Momiji interrupted from beyond the door. One moment. The door to the control center burst open. There we saw Momiji, representative of the chief of the Tengu. She was also Hakuro's daughter, so she was pretty close with everyone in the room. But giving her such easy access to the control center after we had tightened up security so much, Momiji explained quickly. Lady Shuna was gracious enough to let me in. Aha. Shuna had been handling lots of small details for us this whole time, bringing us meals and preparing tea, and I guess Momiji had been helping her out. Fair enough then. Let's hear her out. Momiji declared, as Benimaru's wife, I think it is time for me to step up and take his position on the field.
What are you?
We could not just have anyone take Benimaru's place here, but Momiji would be fine, wouldn't she? She had the power for sure, and her temperament was such that she would not let Shion or Geld give her cold feet. So I accepted the offer. Well, why not? Shion did not seem to mind either.
Indeed, I would gladly welcome Lady Momiji as a worthy ally.
She knew that Momiji was Hakuro's daughter, so she must have been treating her with a soft touch. Geld was on board too.
I am for it as well. The red numbers are a meritocracy of worthy magic born. Instead of Team Kurenai going it alone, I would much rather ask for help from our Tengu friend.
Nobody else seemed to be voicing any disagreement. I turned the question back to Benimaru. Well, unless there are any concerns, you mind if I let your fiancé take this job, Benimaru?
No, but...
Oh, was he against it? Yeah. Maybe he did not want his future wife out fighting in wars. I teased him a little. Worried for your wife?
Well, yes. Wait, no.
Darn. I almost got him to admit it. But he was not off the hook yet. Shuna's voice cracked through the room.
Benimaru!
With a loud bang, the door flew open to reveal Shuna, standing up straight and admonishing her brother.
Lady Momiji has been preparing your meals for the past few days, I will have you know. All she wanted was for you to have a good meal, so she asked me to teach her how to cook. That is such a gallant thing to do, and I do not want that to go to waste.
Benimaru froze.
She has?
Momiji nodded and answered yes. I had actually noticed this. Compared to Shuna, the meal quality was not quite up to the usual standard. That was why I felt it was perfectly fine to give Momiji her wish. Benimaru tried one more objection.
But kitchen work and battle command are two very different...
Shuna cut him off again.
Benimaru!
Benimaru folded. Benimaru could not resist his little sister either, huh?
This is your fault for being so indecisive in the first place, you know. No wonder Lady Momiji is so anxious. If you are a man, you need to make it clear who you love already.
Yes, he did. I was curious which one Benimaru would choose, Alvis or Momiji. But then again, was now really the time for that? I honestly began to sympathize with him. If I were him, I probably would not want this talked about in front of everyone either. Momiji made her own emotional declaration. No, Lady Shuna. Victory is something I must seize with my own hands. Yow. Now Alvis had a huge disadvantage. Momiji was clearly doing a better job laying the groundwork. Was this battle over? But just then, Alvis herself showed up, slipping right out from behind Shuna. Alvis's first words were low and sharp. You won't get away with this. Then she announced, I have just arrived now with reinforcements from Eurazania. I had not asked for any and I had heard nothing about any. But in Alvis's hand was a letter from Milim. It contained a single sentence, do your best. Who was it meant for? Pretty open-ended message there. But hang on, how did Alvis get inside the labyrinth? Alvis explained, Lady Milim provided the magic. You developed it for her, didn't you, Sir Rimuru? Oh, right. Milim had gotten telepathic permission from Ramirez to send military forces directly into the labyrinth. That was a pretty reckless decision on Milim's part, but then anything was possible with her. So now we had a force of 20,000 led by Alvis. Not just lycanthropes, but also a bunch of harpies, reportedly. A few choice representatives from the Beastmaster's Warrior Alliance were even along for the ride. Even Benimaru had to give this a resigned grin. As long as Milim's will was involved, there was absolutely no way we could send Alvis's troops back home. Besides, if I did, Momiji would never ever give Benimaru a moment of peace. Benimaru finally made the call.
All right. Momiji, I am giving you my force. Take care of it for me.
Momiji answered, with pleasure. She looked happy, and with that, the battle between the two women began. Alvis warned her, I hope you do not drag me down at all. Momiji laughed back. I was already picturing the sparks flying between them. Was this really okay? I was a little concerned about that. So despite all the interruptions, we had a general idea of who we were going to deploy. I should note that Alvis's reinforcements were completely dependable fighters. We were still at a numerical disadvantage, but I think this gave us a lot more wiggle room. Geld would be in the front row, with Momiji taking up the rear. The cavalry, so to speak, was on the wings, Shion on the right and Alvis on the left. This all helped me relax a little, but we still had a battle to fight. Pulling myself together, I sent the orders for each division to head out. Shion and Geld, waiting for this moment all week, immediately sprang into action. Momiji followed suit, and suddenly the control center was busier than ever. On floor 95, currently serving as floor 100, there was a vast open space. Not enough of one for military training, but if we were just housing troops, it would suffice. With that in mind, the members of Geld's 2nd Army Corps and Benimaru's 4th Corps were put on standby in and around floor 100. They would be coming down in about an hour, so I decided to go out and give them a little morale boost. That, and they needed my teleportation magic to get them down here anyway. As I prepared to set off, Soe whispered into my ear,
Sir Rimuru, do you have a moment?
What's up?
I have just received word from Moss that signs of battle were detected in the direction of Blumund. After an investigation, we found that Lady Trainee is engaged in battle with someone.
What? Come to think of it, I had not seen Trainee for the past 10 or so days. She had mentioned going out to greet someone, and she had not been back since. Was she fighting this whole time then? I asked Soe for a favor. I am sorry, Soe, but can you go and help her out a bit? Soe seemed to hesitate for a moment. Maybe he worried that this kept me too unguarded. Everyone really worried too damn much around here. They did not have to be so touchy all the time, you know? Benimaru was still here, and if something came up, we could always tap the 10 dungeon marvels. I was a lot more worried about Trainee than myself at the moment. After exchanging glances with Benimaru, Soe nodded. If Benimaru was here with me, Soe must have been willing to accept my orders. I was glad, but also a little irritated. Was he that concerned about me? Like, I know I was killed once according to Chloe, but I was evolved now. I was a demon lord. But that was the equivalent of I'm retiring in a week, wasn't it? Still, there was no point being all anxious. If something popped up, I was sure Raphael would let me know anyway.
Very well. I will leave at once.
Thanks. So A promptly disappeared. His instant move skill was as brilliant as usual. If Trainee had been fighting all this time, her opponent must have been at about her level. Once So A joined in, I was sure victory would come soon after. It did bother me, and I would have loved to know who she was fighting, but my hands were tied at the moment. I had to finish the fight in front of me first. 1 hour later, a massive number of Magic-born were crowded together on floor 100's vacant space. As soon as I showed up, everyone stood still and quieted down. It was a little scary, frankly, how under control they were. Morale was high, and motivation definitely was not a problem. I was not good at speeches, but I gave it my best. Right. Soldiers, this one battle is all it will take to drive the Imperial Army out of our Federation. Our goal here is total victory, and I want every single one of you to come out alive and share the glory with us, that is all. Not to sound modest or whatever, but I really suck at speeches. It would be nice if Raphael could just write them and read them out for me, but that was the exact kind of time when it started pretending not to hear me. I tried my best to convey my message in my own words, and surprisingly, the Magic-born seemed to accept it. From what I heard later, it received praise from both the old guard and newer Magic-born in their army. One soldier shouted, "Yay, Sir Rimuru's speech was amazing." Another declared, "I can die now, I have got no regrets left in life." And a third immediately snapped, "You idiot! Dying means you have been killed." They told me this was the talk around the army later, but I was not aware at the time. So I just took all those silent rows of troops and teleported them to the ground floor.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.